Hello and welcome to Tales for Talking. I'm so glad you've joined me today for our special episode on St. Patrick's Day. Whether you're listening while commuting, exercising, or just relaxing at home, this podcast is designed to help you improve your English listening and speaking skills while learning something fascinating about English speaking cultures. Today, we're diving into the emerald colored world of St. Patrick's Day, one of the most widely celebrated Irish holidays around the globe. So grab something green to wear and let's get started. St. Patrick's Day is celebrated every year on March 17th, and it's much more than just an excuse to wear green and drink beer. It actually began as a religious feast day for the patron saint of Ireland, but has evolved into a worldwide celebration of Irish culture, complete with parades, dancing, special foods, and a whole lot of green. In simpler words, this holiday happens on March 17th each year. It started as a religious day to honor St. Patrick, who is important in Ireland. Now, people all over the world celebrate Irish culture on this day with parties and the color green. The expression, much more than just an excuse, means it has a deeper purpose or meaning. And when I say a whole lot of green, this is a casual way of saying many green things. Now, let me ask you, have you ever celebrated St. Patrick's Day before? What did you do? Remember, you can pause this recording to answer in your own words. If I were to answer, I might say, yes, I've celebrated St. Patrick's Day several times. Last year, I wore a green shirt and went to an Irish pub with some friends. We listened to traditional Irish music and tried Irish food. It was really fun to experience a bit of Irish culture, even though I'm not Irish myself. Now, let's talk about the man behind the holiday. Surprisingly, St. Patrick wasn't actually Irish. He was born in Roman Britain in the late 4th century and was kidnapped at the age of 16 by Irish raiders who took him to Ireland as a slave. After escaping and returning home, he became a cleric and later returned to Ireland as a missionary, working to convert the pagan Irish to Christianity. In easier terms, St. Patrick was not born in Ireland. He was born in Britain when the Romans controlled it. Irish raiders captured him when he was a teenager and made him a slave in Ireland. After he escaped and went home, he became a religious person and went back to Ireland to teach people about Christianity. Kidnapped means to be taken by force. A cleric is a religious leader or priest. Pagan refers to people who believed in many gods, not Christianity. Here's a question for you. Why do you think Patrick returned to Ireland after escaping from slavery there? Pause and think about your answer. I might answer, I think Patrick returned to Ireland because he felt a strong spiritual calling to help the people there. Despite his difficult experience as a slave, he must have developed a connection to the country and its people. It shows amazing forgiveness and dedication that he would return to the very place where he suffered to help others. One of the most famous legends about St. Patrick is that he explained the Christian concept of the Holy Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, using a shamrock, showing how three separate leaves can exist on one stem. This is why the shamrock became one of the most recognizable symbols of both St. Patrick and Ireland itself. To put it simply, there's a famous story that St. Patrick used a shamrock, a small plant with three leaves, to explain an important Christian idea. He showed how the plant has three leaves but is still one plant. This helped people understand his teaching, and that's why shamrocks are important symbols of Ireland now. Holy Trinity is an important Christian concept about God being three persons in one. A shamrock is a small clover plant with three leaves. Let me ask you, have you ever used a simple object to explain a complicated idea? What was it? Remember to pause and think about your answer. My response might be, yes, I once used a pizza to explain how fractions work to my younger cousin. I showed her how one pizza could be divided into different parts, and we talked about halves, quarters, and eighths while actually cutting the pizza. It made the math concept much more understandable and delicious. Another popular legend claims that St. Patrick drove all the snakes out of Ireland. While it's true that there are no snakes in Ireland today, scientists believe this has more to do with the island's isolation after the last ice age than with any religious intervention. Many historians interpret the snakes in this story as a metaphor for pagan beliefs that Patrick helped eliminate. In simpler words, there's a story that St. Patrick forced all snakes to leave Ireland. This isn't really true. Ireland doesn't have snakes, but that's because of natural reasons. Snakes couldn't get to the island after the Ice Age ended. Many people think the snakes in the story actually represent the old religious beliefs that Patrick replaced with Christianity. Drove out means to force something to leave. Ice Age refers to a period long ago when much of the earth was covered in ice. A metaphor is when you use one thing to represent another. Here's a question. Do you know any other stories or legends that might have a hidden meaning or message? Take a moment to think about your answer. I might say, I know several stories with hidden meanings. One example is the story of the tortoise and the hare, which isn't really about animals racing, but teaches us that steady persistence is better than overconfident speed. Many old stories use animals or natural events to teach deeper lessons about life and human behavior. Now let's talk about how St. Patrick's Day is celebrated today. In Ireland, it was traditionally a religious holiday, and until the 1970s, pubs were actually closed on March 17th. That's hard to imagine now, isn't it? Today, it's a national holiday with parades, concerts, outdoor theater, and other cultural events throughout the country. In basic terms, in the past, St. Patrick's Day in Ireland was mainly about religion, not parties. Surprisingly, bars were closed on this day until about 50 years ago. Now it's a national holiday in Ireland with many cultural celebrations, including parades and music. Pubs is a British and Irish word for bars where people drink and socialize. When I say that's hard to imagine now, I'm expressing surprise at how different things were in the past. Let me ask you, how do celebrations in your country change over time? Is there a holiday that's celebrated differently now than it was in the past? Remember to pause and think. My answer might be, in my country, New Year's celebrations have changed a lot. When my grandparents were young, it was mostly a family gathering with special foods. Now it's become much more commercialized, with expensive parties, fireworks displays, and social media posts. The basic idea of welcoming the new year remains, but the way we celebrate has definitely evolved. While St. Patrick's Day originated in Ireland, some of the biggest celebrations now take place in the United States. The first St. Patrick's Day parade wasn't held in Ireland, but in New York City in 1762, organized by Irish soldiers serving in the British Army. Today, cities like Chicago, Boston, and New York host enormous parades with millions of attendees. In easier words, even though St. Patrick's Day comes from Ireland, Americans often have the biggest celebrations. The first parade for this holiday was actually in New York, not Ireland, over 250 years ago. Now, major American cities have huge parades that millions of people attend. Originated means started or began. When I say enormous parades, I mean very large celebrations with many people marching through the streets. Here's a question. Why do you think holidays from one culture often become popular in other countries? Take a moment to consider your answer. I might respond, I think holidays travel with people when they move to new countries. Irish immigrants brought their traditions to America, and those celebrations provided a way to maintain their cultural identity. Over time, these holidays can become popular with everyone because they're fun and offer a chance to experience different cultures. Food, music, and colorful traditions are especially easy to appreciate, even if you don't share the cultural background. Chicago has perhaps the most unique St. Patrick's Day tradition. They dye the Chicago River bright green. This tradition started in 1962 when city pollution control workers used dyes to trace illegal sewage discharges and realized the green dye could be a festive way to celebrate the holiday. Now, every year, around 40 pounds of environmentally safe vegetable dye turns the river emerald green for about 5 hours. In simpler terms, in Chicago, they put special green color into the river every St. Patrick's Day. This started by accident in the 1960s when workers who were checking for pollution discovered they could make the water green. Now it's a famous tradition. They use safe dye that doesn't hurt the environment, and the river stays green for a few hours. Dye is a substance used to change the color of something. Trace here means to find or track. Sewage refers to wastewater from homes and businesses. Let me ask you, what's the most unusual or surprising holiday tradition you've ever heard about? Pause to think about your answer. I might say, the most surprising holiday tradition I've heard about is the La Tomatina festival in Spain, where thousands of people gather in the streets to throw tomatoes at each other. It's basically a massive food fight that turns the entire town red for a day. I was amazed when I first learned that this is an official celebration that attracts tourists from around the world. Food and drink are central to St. Patrick's Day celebrations worldwide. Traditional Irish dishes like corned beef and cabbage, shepherd's pie, and Irish soda bread are served at parties and in restaurants. And of course, there's the beer, particularly Guinness, Ireland's famous dark stout. On St. Patrick's Day, global Guinness consumption nearly triples, rising from 5.5 million pints on a normal day to about 13 million pints. In basic terms, special Irish food and drinks are important for St. Patrick's Day celebrations. People eat traditional Irish meals and drink Irish beer, especially Guinness, which is a dark beer from Ireland. People drink almost 3 times more Guinness on St. Patrick's Day than on regular days. Corned beef is a salt cured beef product. A stout is a type of dark, strong beer. Consumption refers to how much people use or drink something. Here's a question. Have you ever tried food or drink from another culture as part of a holiday celebration? What was your experience? Remember to pause the recording and think about your answer. I might answer, yes, I've tried several foods from different cultures during holidays. Last Lunar New Year, I went to a friend's house and tried authentic Chinese dumplings and rice cakes. The dumplings were delicious, but I found the sweet rice cakes a bit too sticky for my taste. Still, it was wonderful to experience the holiday through traditional food and learn about the meaning behind each dish. Here's something many people don't know. The color originally associated with St. Patrick was actually blue, not green. A light blue known as St. Patrick's blue appears on ancient Irish flags and was the official color of the Order of St. Patrick, a British founded Irish order of chivalry. The shift to green happened gradually in the 18th and 19th centuries Influenced by the green in the Irish flag, Ireland's nickname is the Emerald Isle, and the Green Shamrock's association with St. Patrick. In simpler words, surprisingly, St. Patrick's color was originally blue, not green. There was even a special light blue called St. Patrick's Blue used on old Irish flags. People started using green instead during the 1700s and 1800s because of the Irish flag, Ireland's nickname Emerald Isle, which means Green Island, and the green shamrock plant. Chivalry refers to a medieval code of conduct for knights. When I say the shift to green happened gradually, I mean people slowly changed from using blue to using green over time. Let me ask you, has a tradition or symbol in your culture changed its meaning or appearance over time? Pause to consider your answer. My response might be, in my culture, wedding dresses have definitely changed over time. Traditionally, they weren't white, but were often the bride's best dress in whatever color it happened to be. White wedding dresses only became common in the last couple of centuries after certain royal weddings made them fashionable. It's interesting how something we now consider traditional is actually a relatively recent development. One modern St. Patrick's Day tradition that has nothing to do with Irish culture is the McDonald's Shamrock Shake. This mint flavored milkshake was introduced in 1970 and has developed a cult following. It's only available for a few weeks each year around St. Patrick's Day, making it a seasonal treat that many people eagerly anticipate. In easier terms, the Shamrock Shake from McDonald's is a popular mint milkshake that you can only buy around St. Patrick's Day each year. It started in 1970 and isn't actually connected to real Irish traditions. Many people get excited when it becomes available because you can only get it for a short time. Cult following means a dedicated group of fans who are extremely enthusiastic about something. Anticipate means to look forward to something. Here's a question. Is there a seasonal food or drink that you look forward to each year? What makes it special? Take a moment to think of your answer. I might say, I really look forward to pumpkin spice lattes that come out each fall. There's something about that combination of warm spices that perfectly matches the changing season when leaves are turning and the air gets crisp. The fact that it's only available for a limited time makes it feel like a special ritual that marks the transition from summer to autumn. If you visit Ireland, you'll discover that St. Patrick's Day there is generally more family oriented and less focused on drinking than American celebrations. While pubs are certainly busy, many Irish families attend church in the morning and enjoy a special meal together. The parades in Dublin and other cities have become more elaborate in recent decades, partly influenced by American celebrations and partly to attract tourism. In simple terms, in Ireland, St. Patrick's Day is often more about family and less about drinking than in America. Irish families might go to church and eat together. The parades in Irish cities have gotten bigger recently, partly because of American influence and partly to attract visitors. Family oriented means focused on activities suitable for the whole family. Elaborate means detailed, complex, or fancy. Let me ask you, how do you think celebrations change when they travel from their country of origin to other places? Pause to think about your answer. My answer might be, I think celebrations often become more commercial and sometimes exaggerated when they travel to new countries. People might focus on the most visible or fun aspects rather than the deeper cultural meaning. For example, Cinco de Mayo is a minor holiday in most of Mexico, but has become a major celebration of Mexican culture in the United States with a strong focus on food and drinks rather than the historical event it commemorates. There's a common phrase you might hear on St. Patrick's Day. Everyone is Irish on St. Patrick's Day. This saying reflects how the holiday has transcended its cultural and religious origins to become a day of inclusion and celebration for people of all backgrounds. It's a testament to how the Irish diaspora has shared their culture around the world. In simpler words, people often say everyone is Irish on St. Patrick's Day because anyone can join in the celebrations, even if they don't have Irish heritage. This shows how St. Patrick's Day has become more than just an Irish or Catholic holiday. It's now a fun day that welcomes everyone to participate. Diaspora refers to people who have moved away from their homeland and settled elsewhere. Transcended means to go beyond the usual limits of something. Here's a final question. What other cultural celebrations have become popular internationally, and why do you think this happens? Remember to pause and consider your answer. I might respond, Halloween is a great example of a cultural celebration that has become international. Originally a Celtic festival that evolved in America, it's now celebrated in many countries that didn't traditionally observe it. I think these celebrations spread because they're fun, visual, and often involve activities that appeal across cultures, like dressing up, decorating, sharing special foods, or coming together as a community. Social media and global entertainment have accelerated this sharing of traditions. And that brings us to the end of our St. Patrick's Day episode. I hope you've enjoyed learning about this holiday's fascinating history and how it's celebrated around the world today. Whether you plan to wear green, attend a parade, or simply enjoy learning about Irish culture, I wish you a happy St. Patrick's Day. Thank you for listening to Tales for Talking. If you found this episode helpful for improving your English, please subscribe for more cultural stories and language learning. Until next time, keep practicing your English and remember, there's always a tale worth talking about.